You rearranging the house or what?
Yeah, I got some things I gotta do here. All right. So how you been?
Good.
All right.
Good. Been busy.
Didn't go to AMS, huh?
No, we let JR and Thomas make the ride, and then Damon went with them also.
Oh yeah.
So they had 3 in the van, and they're gonna squeeze everybody into one room. So,
Oh boy.
Damon's
Damon's
and
getting
then
the
if I
floor.
would have, yep.
Yeah.
Which he doesn't mind. So,
Yeah.
but then if I would have went, then we would have went to 2 rooms, and I had to do some stuff back here, and yeah, it's good.
Well, best of luck to the team there. Is Mayfield there?
Yeah, we actually have Mayfield, Spencer, and Cavallari, and
The whole gang. Wow.
they do a little something different though with that race where it's like you can get there today and practice, but then you can't practice on Friday.
So today's Thursday. Can't practice tomorrow. So what do you do tomorrow?
Well, no, if you practice today, you can't practice Friday.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like penalizing you for practicing today.
Well, yeah, what it is it gives you the option. You can either practice on Thursday or you can practice on Friday, but either way, people get 1 day of practice.
So just trying to keep it fair.
Yeah, that, and if you can't make it in as early as some people,
Right.
then it doesn't hurt you. And then if you can make it in early, and you just want to run early, you can do that too.
Yeah. You're not going to get any extra days though. So actually, I think I might like that.
It has been popular.
I think it's fair for those guys that can't get there, Thursday. So.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I was Mayfield had texted me earlier today asking about something, and I was, I thought he was already there. He's asking me like kind of specific questions, and then finally I was like, all right, well, how's it going? He's like, well, I'm not there yet. I'm at the airport.
Dope. Oh, let's see. I thought you were there. Well. Oh, so that's not bad. So is the guys running today, or are they just wait until tomorrow to practice? Like JR and those guys. Those guys are already there, right?
Yeah, JR and Thomas are there, and I think what Thomas decided to do is he was going to run one of his cars today, and then that way, when the other guys run tomorrow, then he can take video and photos.
Yeah.
And so kind of works out, I
makes
think.
Sense. Yeah. No, I think it makes sense. Sounds good. You have to send me the info on this guy then if you want to get him on the horn.
Okay.
And what is he ready?
Yep.
All right. When does that start? What start? Oh, football. What's Kirby talking about here? The 49ers. I don't think the Lakers are going to do anything, bro.
You don't?
Nope. I don't think they're getting anybody. All right.
Then Magic will be gone.
Alabama manufactured shootout. LiveRC.com coverage.
I They have live RC set up, I believe, and it may be a stationary camera in practice and qualifying, and they'll probably move the camera during the mains. I'm not sure. Thomas will be there, and I think he'll have a moving camera doing Facebook Live.
So catch it on J Concepts. Hit the notification button so when they go live, you get a little notification. You can hit on that, watch the videos. That's what I do. Though I didn't have time to watch his live video from today, though. I was real busy.
Actually, I didn't either. I was kind of messing around and doing a bunch of stuff, and I saw it pop up, and I was like, I'll kind of check in later. And I mean, I like on the track. When I watch at home, I kind of wait for the track to get good, then I start watching, because like just to see, like, at the beginning when people get out there and run a few laps and the track's not broken in yet, it's
kind of pointless.
It is.
I was watching the Asian Fever from Malaysia.
I haven't watched it, but I mean, I know Ben Panic was over there racing.
That's right. He's the fan of the show, Ben Panic. I was like, hey, I recognize that name. The other names, hell, I couldn't even pronounce them if I tried. But yeah, I don't even know who those guys were. But I was like, Ben Panic, I know that guy. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, he pops up at a lot of those type of events because he's, I don't know what you want to say, local, but he can get there, I think, fairly quickly. So.
Yeah, where does he live? Over in Singapore, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it popped up in my YouTube feed, and I was like, oh, hey, what's this? And I guess I subscribed to whoever was uploading the videos. And they would do, like, walk in the pits and stuff, and they're interviewing guys, and a lot of the guys you couldn't understand, but then there was Ben Panic, and I was like, cool. It's always cool when I recognize a name from the show. Yeah, it's like, pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you kind of have like a horse in the race,
Yeah, exactly. I was checking it out. I checked out anytime they uploaded a video. I was like, well, check this out, man.
Yeah, so it's there's been some stuff going on, like you said, where AMS is going down, and we're only a couple weeks away from the Summer Indoor Nationals, which is at Hobby Action in Arizona.
Ooh, Mayfield territory.
Yeah, a lot of good racers out there. Guys getting better. It's a good track. Everyone likes it, and our race is obviously kind of holds its own importance for certain reasons, but then the Nationals is about a month later.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys are using our race not only to win it, and for every other reason you run a race like that, but then they're also using it to warm up for the Roar Nats. So kind of like a two thing in one.
Yeah. Kill two birds with one stone.
Mm-hmm. So I think that race is going to go great. It's going to be successful, and then the Nationals there will also be successful. And then I think people will probably be okay with kind of getting out of that mode for a little while, and then getting back into some 8 scale and building up towards the Worlds.
Yeah, the Worlds.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Mayfield's going to get revenge.
He needs some revenge from the Roar Nats.
That's right.
Kind of painful.
We had a question about that. You want to explain that real quick? He had a 25-second lead, flamed out. What was the question again? Why did he drop the sixth, right?
Essentially the guy was kind of like, hey, he had such a big lead. I mean, I can try to find the question exactly, but I might as well read it exactly.
He was wondering if there was a flame out rule. I forget where even the question was. I think it was on your post somewhere.
Yeah, here's what he said. Watching the semi, it seems like Ryan missed the loop during the confusion. He was up 25 seconds, and that's roughly how long the incident took. I'm not a nitro driver on the national level, but it appeared to me if he should have been right with the leaders instead of sixth. So, well, what happened is where Ryan flamed out he was about 2 seconds from hitting the scoring loop. And where he flamed out on the track, they bring him back to the pits, but he doesn't score a lap right there. So even though he had made it, 95 or 98% of the way around for a lap, where he flamed out was before the loop, and then he didn't get counted for a lap right there.
Oh.
So had he flamed out after the loop, and then they brought him in and fired him up, he would have been probably on the same lap. And so instead, where he flamed out, he basically had a really long lap. So that whole lap that he basically
did a free lap.
He ended up wasting 30 seconds because where he flamed out, he was only 2 to 3 seconds away from the line.
Jeez.
So it basically washed away that 30 seconds that he had already spent out there making that one lap. And so the idea is, the way they do that is, you're not, if you flame out and you don't make it across the line, it means you didn't make it across the line. So, and your car has to be refired in the pits, and then it has to leave pit lane, so you never get counted there. So that lap time, instead of being 32, 33 seconds, it ended up being 1 minute and 25. So even though he was up 25 seconds on second, I think he was up 25 seconds on second. The only reason it was close at all is because he was up so much time on fifth place, which I guess was Billy Easton or somebody else. And if he would have had one more lap, he would have made it by Billy, and he would have bumped it. He would have been in the main. But there was only like 2 laps left, and he made up a ton of time. Trying to get around Billy, and honestly, he drove a couple good laps, knowing that he had to pass Billy. It's not, some people kind of freak out and you crash more, but he actually drove really, pretty calm, considering what was kind of on the line right there. He knew that he was kind of screwed. And Billy actually got really lucky because he hit a couple pipes. He pushed wide in the dust and hit a pipe, and the car almost turned into the pipe, that corrugated tubing, the car will sometimes catch and then turn right into it. Well, his car, it was on the outside, and his car rubbed against it, and I thought it was going to go right into the pipe. And he rubbed against it, and he never got caught, and I was like, oh, man. And, Mayfield got a lot closer, but it was, still not.
Yeah.
Well, you might as well give Doug a call.
All right, who you got coming on the show here, Jason?
Doug Welker, who is it's kind of the track, like race director of the Trigger King monster truck racing group, you could say. Mm-hmm. In the monster truck, RC monster truck world, what's kind of popular is they almost have almost like clubs in a way, and like this track, these clubs, if you will, they run races like once a month.
Okay.
And they try to get their crew, the people out there, and new people to gear up and get into it and race with them. So it's a little different, than some of the other stuff, because it's almost like you run as a group, and there's a bunch of these groups around. Because it's not like off-road racing where it's like somebody opens a track and then, you just got people coming in, and this is like you don't have like a permanent location. They do have a outdoor track that they go to quite a bit, and they race out there in the dirt. But they can move this stuff anywhere. They can run anywhere.
Yeah.
So you could say, hey, we're going to have a gathering in the Walmart parking lot, if they let you, and you could have an event out there, because they have, you have all the jumps and borders and equipment, and to run a race, you can pretty much do it anywhere. So it's like, so you announce where you're going to race, and so that's what. So he's the race director there. He works with a couple guys that. They all work together trying to do this, and they have it starts off, you got a passion for it. And these guys are a little better at it than a lot of the groups, because they have a really good background and photos and video, and they're also really connected to the real monster truck scene. So they have a nice image from that standpoint, online and Facebook and websites. So they have nice logos and nice photos and video, and their YouTube channel does well. People watch this stuff on YouTube that, can't race, or they want to get into it. And they have a lot of successful videos on YouTube with just with races. So
yeah, their channel's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so they put their races up on there, kind of like, almost like you'd see a regular monster truck race in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they don't just tell you the winner. When you open the video, you have to kind of watch it to see who the winner is. So it's almost like a show. So I think people tune in for that, and you can watch, and of course they have the same type of guys that run, but this type of, and we'll get into this more when he's on the show, but,
yep.
But that's one of the things he does. He also works as a contributor to Big Squid RC, which is, Big Squid's been around a long time, but they're like they're one of the popular websites that was out there, kind of do reviews on cars, and they've done basher stuff. They review a lot of that kind of thing.
Big Squid. You're a squid, Jason.
Yeah, I know. But it is definitely a popular site.
And he also runs the, what was the event? The Monster...
yeah, this is a new event coming up that is going to be a first annual this year. It's called the King of the Monster Trucks.
King of the Monster Trucks.
It's going to be in St. Louis, Missouri. And the connection here is being in St. Louis, and Bobby Chandler, who works, who's the owner of Bigfoot, Bob Chandler. His son is Bobby Chandler. Well, he's involved with this Trigger King RC, and he is obviously very connected to Bigfoot. And in one of the original videos back in the 80s, and we'll let Doug talk about this too because he knows probably more than I do, but one of the original videos back in the 80s that Bigfoot sold was called King of the Monster Trucks.
Oh.
So, so you have the Trigger King name, then you have this tie-in with King of the Monster Trucks. So, tie in with the Bigfoot, being in St. Louis, Missouri. And so everything kind of tied together. The King of the Monster Truck sounds like a good name, so that's the name for this new event, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah. I see the theme here. It appears to be monster trucks.
There is a monster,
Doug Welker coming up. I can't do the funny Doug Welker.
Yeah.
I guess I just did.
I had to. I considered that too.
Yeah, I thought we were supposed to.
Hello.
Doug.
Hey, how's it going?
Gotti Jr. here with Jason Rona. What's up, buddy?
How's it going?
All right. You are live on the air. Radio Impound
right.
Podcast.
Okay. Sorry if you guys hear any thunder here in the background. I'm actually crazy weather here tonight in St. Louis. So it's like 70 degrees. It was 100 earlier. So yeah,
What?
It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Wow. Dropped 30 degrees? Dang.
Yeah, around that. So, and the sky looks like it did. So it's just crazy stuff here tonight. So what's going on?
We're just checking in with you. We wanted to get you on. I know since we were up there doing the open house, I was writing some stuff down, and we've been having some off-road track owners on the last couple shows, and thought we'd jump over to the monster truck side, and talk a little bit about what you guys do with the Trigger King. And before you came on, I kind of briefed Gotti a little bit. He noticed there was a monster truck theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually do come from the racing scene, though, believe it or not, the traditional RC racing scene. I've been heavy into monster trucks as well.
Oh. Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of that's kind of what we do is start with people, just kind of start at the beginning, give us a little intro, how you kind of got into RC, and then kind of getting to where you're at with doing the stuff with Big Squid, and then with the Trigger King.
Yeah, so my years are a little bit fuzzy when I started into it. It was 92 or 93, I guess, because I'm 34 now, so I was around 10 years old. I know, give or take, a little bit younger than that. But anyways, I started racing with a Traxxas Hawk 2 at a club night, carpet racing, actually. And racing against, they had like a kids league up there, so I'd be racing against RC10s, all kinds of crazy stuff. There were even a couple kids up there that had clodbusters, and that was fun, trying to race a stadium truck against quads on a tight carpet track. Just get run over. It was a lot of fun though back then. But yeah, I kind of got out of the hobby for a little bit after racing for a while, and then I got back into it with the monster truck boom that happened in the T-Max, that whole craze. I got like heavy into all that stuff with the independent stuff, and I raced my T-Max for a while. I had one of the crazy Super Maxes that was all aluminum out, had a bunch of stuff on it, and then when truggies kind of became the thing, went to arena truck, I once again kind of got out of that portion of the hobby. So got back into it when the Slash stuff happened, and that's when I got into like 17.5, buggies, the four-wheel drive stuff. Pretty much I've done about everything except for A-scale, nitro. But I've always been into monster trucks, though, on the side, like hardcore into full-scale monster trucks. And, I got my first Clodbuster in 99, I guess is when it was, and started modifying it, just to play around with it. And there was never really, here in St. Louis, it's funny because it's, like a monster truck mecca of the full-scale stuff, but there really wasn't many people. There was, like, no scene for that, back then. So it was just play around with it. I bring it out to races, and people are like, oh, wow, what is that thing, And it's funny with the Clodbuster. I started to work for Bigfoot in 2004. I actually went up there one day. I was 19, and I figured, they had an ad out for looking for a monster truck driver. So I figured, what the heck? I'll go up there and try. And they laughed at me, because it's like, okay, so do you have any mechanical experience? I said, well, no. Do you have a commercial driver's license? Well, no. And, it was kind of funny. It's like, okay. There's no reason they would hire me. But then they're like, well, wait a second. We have an opening up here in our showroom area where they sell T-shirts, and they were doing kids' birthday parties at the time. And Bob Chandler Jr., Bob C. Chandler, was the, he ran the showroom, and that's who I run Trigger King with now. And it's funny because in my initial interview up there, we actually were talking Clodbusters because he's been into them forever too. And, never thought we'd eventually have a monster truck club together. But, the RC monster trucks have kind of been around me forever, I guess. I blew my first Bigfoot paycheck on a TXT1. It was the first, the first big job. I mean, as a 19-year-old, it was the first full-time job I had. So,
yeah.
And I was living at home. So, of course, I had, at the time, I thought big money there with an actual paycheck. So it's funny because my Tower Hobbies order history, that's when I started my account, the first payday at Bigfoot. And it's pretty funny looking back whenever I order stuff that I can see that's what I ordered. The TXT1 with all sorts of stuff with it. But,
wow.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that's kind of how I got, really started in it. And the whole thing was starting a monster truck club. I never thought I'd do that. I got heavy into the scaling stuff, the rock crawling in like 2010, and there was no one to do it around here with. So me and Chris Blank is his name. Oh, sorry, you got a text. Chris Blank is his name. He's another guy who helps me with Trigger King. And if any of you guys, follow us on YouTube, he's the guy that has all the orange trucks. And there was nobody scaling around here, so we're like, okay, let's start a crawling club. And we did that, and we wound up, we just promoted the heck out of it. We wound up, going from 4 guys with the first run to like 6 months later, we had like 70 people on the trail run. We're like, okay, there's something here. And that's kind of how I got started with Big Squid, is I was holding a mud bog, actually, a scale mud bog and crawl, and Big Squid came out. And Tim Moore and Cubby, they, two of the editors, they're the longtime guys, they came out and were shooting pictures. And we just started talking, and it wound up that a couple months later they were looking for a scale guy. And I figured, what the heck, I'll try writing. I can do this. And, yeah, it wound up I could shoot pictures, which was good, and I could write a coherent sentence. So I was hired as a scale guy, and I was big into that for a while, and we eventually transitioned, though, into monster trucks. That's pretty much what. And then once that started, we got hardcore into it, basically. Me, Bob, Chris, Danny Mass, he works at Bigfoot as well. Josh Rhodes, who I met at Bigfoot. Pretty much everybody I met through Bigfoot, which is, it's funny that it's all the full-scale trucks, but so many of those guys are into the RC stuff too. And that's kind of how we all came together, was just from the time at Bigfoot. Not everyone worked there, but everyone would come up there, just kind of ran in the same circle. So that's the long-winded version, I guess, of how I got to wherever here at the club.
I was talking to Gotti a little bit about it, and I was telling him that it's a little different because there are a lot of these monster truck clubs. I don't want to say a lot, but it's a little different than like off-road racing where somebody has a track and you go there and sign up, and you feel like you run a little more as a group in a sense. Like, it's like, it's almost like when I go watch the show, what's the show on Netflix, with the biker show?
Like like a biker build show? I'm not sure. I know what you mean though with the clubs.
Yeah, you're more in a club.
Yeah,
and, the Sons of Anarchy, where the Sons of Anarchy. It reminds me a little bit of that.
Club.
Well, yeah, I mean, but maybe we can make it cool. No. But yeah, it reminds me a little bit of that because, people, you kind of run together and everyone says, where do you race with? Oh, I race with Trigger King, or I race with these guys. You know what I mean? Like there's, and when I started off-road racing, there was a lot of there was a lot more of that club atmosphere, because the tracks were in a park. So.
Oh yeah.
So, I was talking to Gotti a little bit about that, and I was telling him that, really you guys could race anywhere. You could just say, hey, we're going to have a race, at so-and-so, and then people, that race with you guys could come and they could go anywhere.
Yeah, it is weird like that, how you wouldn't, maybe I guess parking lot clubs, I've heard that parking lot racers used to do that back in the day. But, yeah, I mean, as long as we have our obstacles, we have something to transport some obstacles around, we could do it in someone's driveway. We could do it at a monster truck show on the floor. I mean, clubs do that. And it is weird. It's like a nomadic thing. And I mean, having raced, as far as our club goes, I think I'm one of the only ones that have, like, I guess, traditional RC racing experience where I've done that, been a part of a bunch of clubs and done a bunch of different surface racing. And it is so much different. The only thing that's, like, I guess, close to the atmosphere, I don't know if either of you guys have ever done any dirt oval racing. I would guess probably not, but I was actually big into that. There's a pretty big scene around here in the Midwest for, sprint cars and modified. I had a blast. That was almost more fun than monster truck racing to me. But it's kind of that same weird pack mentality to where when one club goes to another track, it's like you roll with your mob and everybody. It's just funny how that, it's that pack mentality. It's way less, having raced in a couple big off-road races. I mean, nothing like, the caliber with you guys. But I've done some of the smaller national type things, and it is so different. It's like, I guess sort of everybody's for themselves. I mean, that's not totally the case. Of course, you got your friends and everybody like that, or sometimes you do have like your sponsor teams or whatever. But it is, I don't know, monster truck racing is weird like that. That's part of the appeal, though, to me. I mean, it is bizarre. I mean, that's actually one of the reasons too I was intimidated to even do monster trucks at first, because we started the club. Trigger King started as a joke. We were going to race mega trucks. We were just going to put big mud tires on trucks and just have fun with it, because that's when mega trucks were getting popular, in real life,
right?
Down in Florida and stuff. And so no one was making parts for them, and we just figured, what the heck, So we started cutting up tires, big quad tires, to make tractor tires and stuff. And we would run them on what was available as monster truck chassis. And the name Trigger King came, Danny Mass, he named it for there's the Throttle King series, is the full scale mega trucks, Throttle King mega truck series. So we thought it'd be funny just to call it Trigger King, as a joke for pulling trigger and whatever, just rip off the real megas. And the guys were like, because we weren't really getting any turnout for that. You want to talk about niche. That was really niche back then. We were filming some of it, trying to put it on YouTube to try and get, to get some of the people to do it. But we had like 4 trucks that was it. We'd have 8 on a good night. So it's like, we're just breaking our backs for nothing. So finally, talked us into doing monster trucks, and I was intimidated to even try doing monsters because of that pack thing. I knew all the clubs around the country, and it's like, man, I'm intimidated to even try and do that because I figured it'd be a nightmare with rules. It turns out it was, but a lot of fun and everything with it too. But yeah, it's monster truck racing's weird. It's a weird thing to outsiders too,
Yeah, what the thing that I noticed being around it a little bit is, when I started off-road racing, like I said, there was a club atmosphere where you had, when I raced in Orlando and then we raced in Tampa, and there were 2 different clubs, and people knew where you were coming from. Like they say, oh, here's the guys coming over from Orlando, or the guys coming over from Tampa, but when everybody got together, like the Orlando guys would like cheer for the Orlando guys, and then the Tampa guys would cheer for the Tampa guys. But and I can see that a little bit when I go to some of these RC monster truck races where the people that race with certain people all the time, they will cheer for the people that they're familiar with, Or
yeah, I know that's how that's how I know whenever there's a national race, I know we root hard at the St. Louis guys. Of course, we want our guys to win, and I know whenever someone races with us, I know that they want to win, and their guys want them to win too. So yeah, it's like a bragging rights thing. It's pretty cool. It reminds me sort of like a Street Outlaws vibe, right? Where it's not exactly like that, but it's you want your crew to win.
Mhm. Yeah. It makes sense. So, you got into, you did the Bigfoot thing, and then you started with the Trigger King. So when you got going with Trigger King, when did it really start becoming, I guess, more consistent, or something that you guys had to do every month or have a schedule as opposed to just winging it?
It's I guess the weird thing is we almost were like, I guess, sort of successful with monster trucks right from the beginning, just because we have the Bigfoot connection. And our first monster truck race we did outside just to try it out, right? And that was just out there. It's actually where we have our track now, but at the time there was no track. It was just us out there. But then right away, Bob Chandler Jr., who works for Bigfoot, he's like, no, let's race here in our showroom. And so that right away, we're racing at Bigfoot, so that right away gives it a lot more, I guess, legitimacy. Most of us are used to being in the shop, so it's funny that I guess you take it for granted. It's like, oh, well, we're racing at the shop. It's just an open space, but people would drive in because they're racing at Bigfoot. Like, we're racing around monster trucks in the showroom. We're like, can we move that truck back out of the way, to the way?
Yeah.
And, it's just, and that's when, YouTube helped us huge. I mean, that still blows me away. We just hit 23 million views, just recently on it, and hit 30,000 subscribers. And that never ceases to amaze me that people want to watch toy monster trucks. I mean, we never in a million years thought that would be successful with it, but, that's a big part of the success too, I guess, is just since we started, we try and promote it like a real monster truck promotion. We don't take it serious like that, but we just thought it'd be fun to do that, and that has worked. It's helped us grow, I suppose. But yeah, we're in a pretty good place now. I think we're we got a lot of guys that help out with things, and our races are weird how our events are like such a small part of this stuff, like editing video and all this other stuff just takes so much more work than the racing, actually, at least for a few of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what I notice is you guys, you do a 1-day race, but then it's about 2.5+ weeks in sort of
we try and split it out of footage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we try and do that, and then we got all the photos and everything. I mean, we do it overkill, we know that, but it's fun. It's fun to do it that way, and I know the racers all like it because I used to be annoyed whenever I'd always have good paint jobs on my short course trucks. Like I'd always do especially when the short course came big, I loved all the classic Baja paint jobs and everything. And so many guys in the club had all these cool trucks, but no one had pictures of anything. It's like you didn't know this stuff existed, and it drove me nuts, And that's why it's just promoting that way, shooting pictures of all the vehicles. All these guys. That's the one thing with the monster truck guys, and I know racers do it too. But man, some guys spend a lot of time on their builds. Crazy chrome pieces, aluminum, machined everything. I mean, paint to the nines, and so it's fun. It works to shoot the trucks, and shoot the pictures and everything, because even people that really have absolutely no interest in monster trucks whatsoever can at least appreciate, hey, that looks pretty cool.
Well, that's what I've found is, obviously we got Ryan Mayfield on our team, and he's obviously a big off-road racer. He's the current world champion. But when I show him the monster truck stuff, or he came to our shop, I mean, he just plays with it the whole time he's there. He's like, hey, can we put a battery in this thing? And I'm like, nope, you're not driving it. You take this thing outside.
That's funny to me.
Because he's going to go outside and destroy it. Because he's a basher, he's a hardcore RC racer, but he actually is one of the guys that likes playing with the cars, and
that's great. So it's like,
he wants all that stuff. So, he's like always asking me what to get, and he wants to build all the stuff, but he goes to so many races that he doesn't really have time to build.
Yeah, sure. It's his job.
Yeah. So I think that's but it has a lot of appeal. I know when Trevor Adamo comes out and in California and brings his monster trucks to the Reedy race and stuff, and he sets them out, and I mean, people just play with them the whole time. They sit there and play with the truck and ask them all kinds of questions, and it just has a cool look to it. And them having a lot of the trucks anyway, having the real truck bodies, still means something to people that we talk to at the races, and they do relate to it, and there is an attraction
important
there.
And I think what's so weird or unique maybe about with the RC monster trucks is how close they are tied to the full-scale trucks. So many of the guys running replica bodies know the guys who own the real trucks or are friends with them, or in some cases they even run RCs with them. And it's it's interesting how so many big real monster truck events have a RC component to it now. I mean, look at Vegas, the World Finals. I mean, almost everywhere, or even like the Gravedigger Shop hosts the that really big race they have out there, and like Dennis and Ryan and them are out there. The Andersons enjoying it with everybody, and there's such a cool camaraderie. Like, I've raced RCF1 before. You're not going to see F1 drivers around that. It's
No.
just, you know what I mean? And I know there's got to be some bleed over with some other, some other forms of RC racing, but I haven't seen it like the Monsters, where you just have the full scale guys completely involved with it when they can be, or sometimes all the time, anyways. So it's always fun when we host races, and if some of the national guys are in town for tour, like whenever Barry Masauer, if he can race with us, we try and hold races around the big guys if they come in, just so they can race with us, because it's always a lot of fun. We would love to get Cody Celtier out sometime to race with us. I know all the Monster Jam guys are so tough anymore because the schedules, they run those guys into the ground pretty much, so it's tough to line up stuff for them. But yeah, I love how there's an interaction with the full scale guys. It's a lot of fun.
So when you do when you do the Trigger King events, they're usually all once a month, right?
Yeah, we try and do once a month.
And then you'll kind of bounce around, but you've been doing a lot on the dirt outdoor track recently.
Yes.
So explain a little bit what the difference is in the different classes that you have, that you race consistently, and then, kind of racing on the dirt, I guess.
Yeah, so, I mean, the newest thing that we've been doing, which is the oldest thing, is the Mega Truck. We started doing Mega Trucks, but mud racing just presents so many challenges logistically. It's hard to work on the track to keep it, the good mud. Actually, it's tough to do that, and then cleaning the trucks out is just for 2 minutes of fun, it's a lot of work for that. That's why I know a lot of clubs don't do it, but are starting to, which is cool. I'm seeing some now around the country. J Concepts, you guys offering the tires, which were the long time hang up. The equipment to run these things. There are more guys doing that now, but a Mega Truck, as we run it, is basically, if you've got a 4-link suspension and solid axles, you can do whatever in it. I know there's one of our guys has a crazy it's a single transmission, but with a dual motor, dual brushless thing. It sounds like a lawnmower when it's driving. It's crazy. So the whole kind of excess is the whole point of that class. But then, the Pro Mod trucks are the big modified, like Clodbusters and Shaft trucks, which single brushless or dual brushless, but guys are running like 3 5s in some of them, censored setups, which are just ludicrous of power. We run a Sport Mod class, and I know that there are some clubs around that are doing it, which is a brushed class. The whole point of that is just to kind of get the crazy power out of it, so you can, it's a little bit closer racing. It's not as expensive. It's easier on parts, and it kind of keeps it looking somewhat realistic, where the trucks aren't pulling all the backflips and everything. But so that's we use 17-turn brush motors, that's pretty cheap to get those. For $15, you can have a motor. Even a Clodbuster, which takes 2, it's relatively cheap. But then the classes that get the most questions are the retro classes. And those are weird because it's, people ask, well, where can I buy one of those? Well, it's a tough question for the old school trucks. So we have a retro class. We call it Outlaw just because we kind of run hotter motors than some other clubs did back when the retro thing got started. But the whole point of that is you set up trucks to look and act like they did back in the 80s or early 90s, with the stiff suspensions, the cool, mostly pickup truck bodies, tons of bling on them, fake blowers, all the crazy stuff like that. And, where show is almost as important as the go. And it's tricky for those. A lot of guys use stock clodbusters just because it's easy to modify. But, we started to have guys do some really wild stuff with 3D printing, with to create the very old, 1970s style monster trucks with the 48-inch tires and tanks. We're going to be racing tanks actually here soon with modified Kyosho Blizzards, which those are fun. I don't know if you guys have ever driven the tanks, but the stick remotes, those are fun to do. That's kind of a rundown of classes, really. We also do run a tough truck class, which is, we haven't really got a lot of traction in that, but we run those Tamiya CC01. I call them scalers. They're not really scalers, but, they don't have much suspension, but they do look real and they act real, and we jump them off the monster truck ramps and they bomb around and break and everything, kind of like you'd see the halftime intermission at a real monster truck show when you have, the local yokels out there in his Jeep Cherokee with leaf springs jumping the monster truck jumps and breaking everything. That's kind of the point of that class. So we try and just model it after what you would see maybe at a real, event or different eras of a real event. Kind of like most clubs do.
Yeah, I think it gives people kind of an option as to, what the different classes are that they can, kind of see themselves and how they fit in, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's, we have guys that run every class, of course, with multiple trucks in each, but then there are the newbies when they come out, normally only have one truck, a lot of times like the Sport Mod where it's cheaper and easier because you can get like an axial SMT10 and modify it without spending a ton of money, and you can do it. And, sometimes they come out and they'll just race one or two, and that's kind of it. Monster truck racing's not for them. They just like the scene. But then the other guys, they get hooked, and all of a sudden they've got a bunch of stuff, and then they've got thousands of dollars sank in their big pro mod trucks and all this other stuff. So we always kind of have this floating group of people that you got a couple guys that dabble, and for every couple that dabble, you got the one guy that really sinks his teeth into it. And that's kind of how we grew that way.
So, and then kind of before we get into some of the other questions I have,
sure.
Talk about a little bit with the Big Squid stuff and, kind of what you had going there and what Big Squid is kind of all about.
Yeah, so, again, I started with them in 2013 as a freelance writer. I would do the Friday scale column. That's when I was heavy into rock crawling. And it's scale rock crawling more, so not the comp stuff, but, the actual SDX-10s and those kind of trucks. And I would write the Friday thing, just kind of what was going on, aftermarket releases, just opinions on some different things. And eventually I started getting involved in the reviews. I don't do that as much as some of the other editors there, but especially if it's like a scale truck, I'll head up those reviews. And the Big Squid reviews are pretty crazy. We kick the crap out of the vehicles. And the reviews get nuttier and nuttier as you go, basically, until the end of it where we'll drive them off a house and other crazy stuff to see if they break. So those are fun to do. It's always fun to, just get to bash something as hard as you can. And I did the scale column with the reviews for around 5 years, which is crazy. That's longer than I've held a job at any one company, actually. And but then I recently transitioned to monster trucks. That's all I'm doing now is monster trucks, writing about monster trucks. I'll pitch in for various reviews, of course, if anything, but I have a Monster Truck Madness column now for them. So they've been good to work with. Those, hardcore bashers. Those guys, almost all of them are nuts. Tim Moore was a pro racer, but since then he's huge into bashing now as well. So that's kind of the mantra there is just kick the crap out of everything and see what breaks and write about it.
Mm-hmm. And they've had a lot of success over the years because people turn to them to look at that type of stuff, right? Like, the durability and all that type of thing, right?
Yeah, and it's more of an informal thing, right? Like, I know it's interesting with the whole media thing, right? Because people always want to say, oh, the company's paid for this, the company's paid for that. I've never talked to, well, outside of you, I suppose, but I'm not, you know how that goes. That's for monster truck business. I've never talked to anybody at another company even, who oh, you need to give this a certain review score. No, and Big Squid's been great to where they don't pester me at all. They let me do whatever, because I've told them for the longest, if I, when I started there, if I have to write about anything or if I have to do something a certain way, I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? So it's been nice to where, it's editorial freedom, I guess. There hasn't been as much as, people want to accuse if something gets a good score on something, oh, your favoritism for this brand or favoritism for that brand. It's like, that's not how we play. It's certainly not how I've ever played any review I've ever done. So it's fun to get to do that, and not have to worry about the repercussions that you hear of, in some industries. I know some media members from the automotive industry, and that's it's a whole nother discussion for the pressure the manufacturers, put on things. But so Big Squid's fun, and I've transitioned pretty much to just all monster trucks. Monster trucks have totally consumed me at this point, so it was tough for me to want to talk about anything else, really.
So on a day-to-day, you say you got, you're doing the Trigger King stuff, you do the Big Squid, and how about and then obviously you have a real job too, right?
Yes. Yep, I work for Midler Brothers Machine and Tool. It's a manufacturer of a bunch of racing equipment, basically, and we have a NASCAR team also, a NASCAR truck team. So I'm involved with, I've been involved with racing some way or another for, I guess, quite a while now for the full-scale stuff. Even though I'm not a mechanic per se or do any of the stuff with it, I actually do marketing for them, graphics and web. I'm a web developer, and I work with their e-commerce store, shoot videos, do a bunch of stuff, that for Midler Brothers. So I'm actually the marketing manager there. So, and they're based out of St. Louis, and I get to work with some other monster truck people for them too. I know Dennis Anderson called the shop to get some equipment recently. There's it's pretty cool, all the people that come through there. Pretty much a ton of hot rodders, street outlaw guys, a lot of guys buying fabrication equipment from them. So yeah, I'm around, the scene, I guess, one way or the other, pretty much all day, every day, whether it's RC or full-scale.
No matter where you turn is some kind of gearhead, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Now it just might be a smaller gearhead than not. Oh, it's funny that up there I have some of my trucks on display up there on my desk. I'm always, at like lunch, I'm always wrenching on stuff up too. And whenever visitors come to the shop, man, they always have to come by and, oh man, what is that thing? Is that a monster truck? What are you doing up here? that kind of stuff. And I was actually big into RC drag racing for a little spell, so I'd always have my funny cars up there. And that by the way is a blast. I don't know. Well, I know J Concepts recently done some of those cool street bodies, but I'm big into drag racing, nitro drag racing. I love it. And so when the Traxxas Funny Car came out, there was a local club around here that we raced those, and that was a blast doing that. But anyways, I think I've done about everything surface except for battleships, which is like the one thing I want to do with the bilge pumps and the BB guns and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
I've definitely never done that.
I gotta check that out. That's got to be on YouTube.
I know. Fred's done boats. Fred's done tugboats because his dad. That's what got him into RC. Is his dad was doing the tugboat stuff when they in the early '80s, and so Fred's done boats. Yeah.
I've never really done boats, but I know that I've seen those battleships before. Those guys that put those bilge pumps and everything. They look awesome. I have no clue how you get into that, and I probably don't need to get anywhere near it. But that's like the one thing in RC I'd like to try at this point.
Can you take somebody else's battleship down?
Apparently how they work, I guess, is if someone's listening, he's going to say, this guy's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And that would be true, because I really don't know. But, yeah, they have, like, actual BB cannons. You sink the other guy, and then you rebuild them, patch them up, and they have bilge pumps. You should look it up on YouTube.
This is totally you, Gotti.
This is.
I mean, it's like turrets and stuff, not just like I have no clue how you build them. I don't know how any of this stuff works, but it's pretty cool. And these things are like as big as canoes. Some of them are, it looks like. So, yeah, I have no clue how one gets into that, but it's always been on my bucket list at some point to do that.
I think I found it's under Battleship RC War.
I can only imagine what's on there now. It's been years since I looked for it.
And then the reality is you get to tell somebody you sank their battleship, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah, I guess. I guess that's the competition, like a last man standing, like a battle royale or something.
Oh,
I don't
dude,
know.
here's one sinking right now. Oh, this is awesome. All right, you guys can continue. I'll check this video out.
He's just gonna watch YouTube. So I'm gonna ask some questions here.
Yeah.
You probably bumped into some of these already, but Chris says, what is the most difficult but most crucial component of a sport mod or pro mod to dial in? So I guess he says, what's the most difficult component to dial in on those two trucks?
Monster trucks are weird, and they're not a fine tool. Like, racing a 17.5 buggy, right? I mean, you can relate how that, your setup, how much that could just change things totally. Monster trucks are more like a brute force type thing. I don't know that there's something super tough to dial in. I mean, suspension, of course, your shocks. I mean, I'm messing with shock, your spring rates and your oil and everything on it, because that's a crucial thing on them. But really, even with the tires, it's not like racing regular off-road to where you're always swapping tires around, for a given surface.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of roll with what you got for the most part. Yeah, I mean, so I would guess suspension. Gearing, though, is big. I mean, especially in a class like Sport Mod where you want to gear it really to the edge of blowing up. I've blown up a couple of mine. I'm trying to figure out what is the sweet spot for it. So, I mean, I guess gearing. Yeah, gearing or suspension, just your shock setup. I mean, the rest of it, there are variables, but it's just not, like in 17.5, any kind. I keep going back to 17.5 just because I had a lot of experience with that. But, you're moving your shock position and everything, just changing your camber, all that stuff. There's just a lot of that doesn't really exist so much in monster truck racing, which actually is kind of nice to me because I could get lost in the setup stuff. It's more just kind of grab it and go. But, yeah, gearing and shocks for sure.
So Danny asks, what's your favorite Trigger King truck and why?
Well, it's got to be one of mine, I guess, right?
Yep.
My nuclear banana truck, I love that thing. That's my pro mod. I've got a 5.5 Gropner brushless system in it, so I can do anything in that truck. It's an axial S&T10. It's a lot of fun to drive. And that truck, it was kind of funny because everybody in the club was like, oh, man, those axial S&T10s, they look all right, but they can never handle the abuse. And I've actually, with the exception of this last event, I busted the steering rod on it. I've never broken anything on it. Now, I mean, I've upgraded some stuff on it, of course, but, I've never pulled a shock out. I've never, busted the cage like some thought would happen, because it's a plastic cage on those where a lot of guys are running, the plate design, the aluminum plates on the side are carbon fiber. My truck's pretty much plastic for the most part outside of the transmission and whatever. And, so I love that truck, my the banana. As it is. And I don't like running replicas. I'm weird for the most part. I like to have my own names on the trucks because I imagine it's my own truck. And, well, I mean, it is my own truck. And, so some guys, that's a funny thing to talk about. And I know some of my friends are so hardcore. They hate the truck. If it is not a replica, it's like garbage. Right. And it's funny, which makes me like to run my own name even better because I like to hack people off. It's more fun with that. So, it's funny how there are different guys with that don't want to run replicas, and there are guys that's all they want to run is replicas. So, yes, Danny, it would be my nuclear banana truck.
So then we got another question from Chris, which is a good question here because I think this is something you alluded to earlier. But what components do you have to upgrade on an axial SMT10 for it to be competitive as a pro mod? So that's something that you actually do have. So, what type of components do you have to have, I guess?
I've got 3 of those trucks with a fourth on the way at some point here. And the main critical thing is you want to do yes, I know. I've got 3 daughters, so I've got 3 trucks, 3 of those right now. So the trucks are about to outnumber. You want to do the transmission on them, you've got to put steel gears in there. The hot racing transmission is killer. You can just bolt that right in, and I've been running it in my Pro Mod with no problem. A lot of guys in the club, and I know a lot of guys nationally are doing that. And then, of course, you need a front sway bar. I have a weird relationship with the S&T10. I love that truck. It's probably my favorite RC release of all time next to the Cloudbuster, but it also, there's just some things I feel like they just went short. Just short of releasing a killer truck out of the box where no one has to do anything much to it. But, you need a front sway bar. You need a transmission. And I guess it depends how much power you want to put in it, really, I guess, for the rest of it. Your MIP drive shafts, which are basically any shaft truck of any kind of RC, that's a good upgrade for it. And you want aluminum C-hubs and knuckles at the very least. And then you probably want a better servo, or at least run it till it blows. Oh, and you need tires and wheels, of course. I guess that's like the mandatory thing with those, right? That's kind of the most frustrating thing with that truck is that, it comes with not monster truck tires, in my opinion, or too small. I shouldn't say they're not monster truck tires. I get in trouble for saying that, but they're just not, they're just a little bit small. I guess good business though for, guys like you who are selling the tires, because that's like, you buy the truck and you have to get the tires. That's like the mandatory thing. So, but yeah, I mean, once you do a couple things though, the S&T 10 is awesome. I love it. It's super scale in how it looks and how it drives. I'm much more of a shaft truck guy than a clodbuster guy. I mean, I've done both, and clods are really cool, but I like the real setup, right, with the, shaft drive center, just set up like the real thing pretty much.
Yeah. So we got, and this is probably the biggest question that I get about this, and I kind of have my own answer, but so Jonathan's asking, what could be considered the best way for someone new getting into the hobby? What class, platform, and sources for information should they look into?
We get this question on YouTube like a ton of times a day. That's,
yeah, I know.
It's casual people. Where do we get this? Because they see these trucks doing these crazy things, backflips, us beating the crap out of them. And then, what do I do? And if you tell them we go to the hobby shop, I mean, these people are so, what's the hobby shop? They have no clue even.
Yeah.
So the simplest thing I tell people is just get an axial S&T 10. Just start with that. And if you're new to RC, that's really all you need. You don't need the other stuff right off the bat. If you're wanting, though, to like race with a club or do something else, of course, you need tires, which I always say get tribute wheels, get Renegade tires, probably gold or blue. I guess depends on what you're going to surface, you're going to run on. But then I guess it just depends if there's like rules for a club. Otherwise, I'd say just start driving it, man. And, just learn how it feels, learn how to work on it. If you're that, if you're a total noob to RC, which that's kind of the cool thing with monster trucks. They do have the appeal to draw the noob in who has no interest in RC whatsoever, but likes monster trucks, especially little kids.
Mm-hmm.
And, so for that perspective, I get why Axial did do what they did with the S&T 10. So I do understand that. I come from like the hardcore, mindset of it, but I do understand, it's a slower truck out of the box. So a kid could conceivably do that and not, break everything. And of course, the Traxxas Bigfoot's another thing. If for kids, that'd be what I recommend over anything. If you just want a monster truck, you don't care about solid axle or whatever. Yeah, I mean, what would you tell people? I mean, you say you've got your own opinions on it. What do you tell people? Because I'm sure you get asked it, plenty of times.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I say is, I think you could start also with a stock clodbuster and race some retro. You could race a little retro with a stock clodbuster. And then if you get kind of hooked on it, you can kind of move from there. And, to me, the clodbuster is out of the box is slow enough and comes with enough stuff that you can see, you can drive it. It doesn't really break and have any problems. And you can have fun with it. And then you'll start to learn some things. And if you want to get involved from there, then I think that's when you can start modifying it or jumping into the next type of vehicle. But I kind of tell people to get the quad because that's what I started with when I was a kid, and I kind of I learned a lot with it. That's
the first kit build I ever did. I remember when I opened up the box and I thought, there's no way I'm ever going to build this or be, it's just so, it was so intimidating, the Clod the first time, and just so many parts in it, but it's so big, and you open the box, and that's like a weird sensory thing to me, right? Like the Tamiya kit smell. I love that smell, that rubber and the ABS plastic. That's just, I love building a kit for them. And yeah, I mean, that's another thing to tell people too. It's cool if you build the kit for the first time too, you know how to work on it, which is a big thing. I wish the steering was a little bit better. Tamiya should update that somewhat. That's the only thing that I think that would be an easy recommendation. I just hate how the stock steering, you pretty much have to go aftermarket on it. And it's all the aftermarket stuff too is also kind of sort of the appeal, I guess, not to go on a tangent, but I love how a lot of the stuff is so, you got to know somebody where to get the parts for something. You know what I mean? The different chassis builders and everything. So on the national scene, you've got all these different trucks that are built totally different, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I like about going to some of the events is it's still kind of a creation that they're putting together and they think is cool and they're having fun with, and there's some innocence to it. When I race, we race 10 scale buggies or 8 scale, there's the creativity and the individualized side of it isn't as there as it is with some of these other things. And I think that's where the scale trucks and the monster truck guys and even the drag racing stuff is coming, where people are allowed to, there's more freedom, I think, there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of attracting the tinker, the guy that wants to build his own thing and kind of be an individual, I think is kind of important.
Yeah, that's a lot of it's sort of how the real trucks are. I mean, I know that there are some companies now that, do a lot of clones sort of the real trucks, but still the monster truck by nature is sort of a weird individual type vehicle. You know what I mean? Not necessarily on an assembly line type truck. And it's cool that kind of is filtered down, to the scene, the RC scene.
So we got Jeremy Bunting is asking, he's basically stating one of the things that you did about the Axial SMT10. It's helped with the current boom of the 10 scale RC monster trucks, but he's asking, what do you foresee as the next bigger thing in the hobby to help it continue growing? So I'm assuming, he's wondering, what do you see coming down the road that could really help the RC monster trucks grow again?
I still think it's a big niche thing. I mean, you see us, but by us, I mean all the monster truck people, online, because we like to post pictures of our trucks and flood everything with that. So I think it makes us look like we're maybe bigger than we are. I think there's just so much room for growth. And what it needs that one truck. It needs that one release where there is no but. You go get that. You don't go get that, but you need this, but you need that. It needs to be the one truck. I don't know what it is. I don't know who's going to do it. I wrote a thing for Big Squid about Traxxas, would they do it? Because, I have no clue on that. I really don't with Bigfoot, with the inside stuff on that. They would not tell me any of that. And so it was total speculation. But after seeing, being so tied into the scale thing, I remember for so long people thought, it'd be cool if Traxxas did a rock trawler, and everyone was so adamant they'll never do that, no chance in hell. And now, the TRX4 is killer. I mean, it's a killer truck, and I never would have thought it. And I know this: there are people that fill stadiums that watch monster trucks, right? So there are people interested in it, and if something comes along to make it easier for those people to get into it, especially kids, I don't know. I don't see the market dwindling for that, because I know some people, they think, the solid axle thing's a fad. And it's kind of always been there. It's just more public now, and trucks like the Axial SMT10, they help that out. But I still think there's just a lot more, where it could go, because it's still fairly underground, especially for, the aftermarket parts. There is no, well, you got, J Concepts, of course, you guys are putting out a lot of good stuff for it. But for the most part, Proline does, some stuff, some limited stuff. And there's not really, much else, I guess, outside of, the crawling guys it's just the parts are interchangeable, right? Your Vanquish and everything. They're not making those for monster trucks. They just happen to go on them. It would just be interesting to me. I do think at some point someone's going to take a stab at a truck like that. Maybe even Axial will redo it. I mean, that's the thing. Axial's got the kit right there. they're just a few tweaks.
Yeah.
If they made it, I think they would, it would rock. And I think it would be, totally ready to do it. And I do know, though, that there's some hesitation for people because they tell me that online. We get to hear from kids and a lot of people, from the YouTube channel, they want to do it, but they can't, they don't want to buy something and have to change things right away. And I understand that because it's just more of an investment. So that's what will blow it open. It needs, like when scale crawling was in its infancy and all of a sudden the SCX-10 came out, monster trucks need their SCX-10 version, right?
Yeah.
Or like the Traxxas Slash or something like, I know the Slash wasn't really anything revolutionary, but you know what I mean. It just feels like it's there. In my opinion, if someone did it right, I think there'd be a lot of money in it too. I mean, I guess that's the most important thing, right? That's just popularity. Can they make money doing it? I do think the money would be there just because so many people love monster trucks, and same with kids. Kids are always going to love monster trucks, right? It's not like other forms of motorsports where they have problems because the demo is getting too old. Like NASCAR, all their fans are aging and being involved in that. Some, it's for sponsors and everything. Monster trucks are always going to renew because kids are going to go to the shows, and that's why it just feels like this isn't a fad. It's going to keep going. It might change or something, but yeah, I guess another long-winded answer for that. But I think it'd be a kit, some new release that makes it very simple to where that's it. You open the box and you are ready to go. At least pretty ready to go on it, where you can have good fun out of the box and have something that looks real.
Yeah, I mean, I've told people, really Traxxas holds the key. If they did it right,
if they did it.
If they did it right, they would blow it out of the water, and because they've done it so many times before. That's their thing, and we wait for it in this industry for them to pull the rabbit out of the hat, like they have with other vehicles, and they did the T-Max and they did the Slash. In those two,
and it's.
I don't know if there's any two vehicles that have sold more than a T-Max or a Slash. They got to be the two most popular RC vehicles. Yeah.
Yeah, I was out of the hobby both times those released, and they pulled me back in for different reasons. And it's funny how that, a big release like that can do that. And it just feels like monster trucks untapped still. That's something that could be explored.
Yeah, I mean, if they did it, it would blow everything out of the water. I think it would be huge.
I would agree, and I don't think it's as crazy as some people thought. When I wrote that column, they'll never do that. Like, okay, yeah, that's what I've heard for other things too.
It's going to happen eventually, because when you get to the point where you kind of have everything, they have so many. Well, I mean, half of their lineup is monster trucks.
Yeah.
So it's like, by the time you go through T-Maxes and Revos and E-Revos, and it's some kind of version of a monster truck, and that is what, they get people into this hobby over and over again with all that stuff. And and those items are pretty expensive, E-Revos and
I know,
all that
you're around $1,000 really by the time you got to the hobby shop.
Yeah, I mean they're expensive, and I think you could do the solid axle monster truck much less than they do with those trucks, and I think it would fit I think it would fit the price. Even a really nice equipped version, I think would come in less than like an E-Revo 2.0, and I think that there'd be people there, in that $300 to $400 range, that would definitely buy it.
I would agree, and if it's well equipped, I think people pay more for it too. If it was, if that's what you needed, you could go really tear it up after. You could pull it out of the box and tear it up. I think they could go up to like $599, something around there, and have more than just hardcores. Yeah, they'd be much better at the lower price point, but I could talk about that for a while.
Yeah, I agree. So we got Matt and you answered this already, but we'll just go over it. Matt Stoltz is, do you
Sure.
prefer motor on the axle or shaft drive? And, you already said shaft, but, maybe you can just elaborate one more time on that.
Yeah, it's how the real trucks are, right? And I say that as a guy who loves Clodbusters. The Clod's my favorite RC of all time. Every time I see a Clod, it makes me happy inside some ways. It's just, I equate that to being a little kid. When I first laid eyes on one, it was like larger than life. It's like, oh my God, that's what I watch on TV, especially the little kid. But I like the shaft drive trucks, and they're just easier to work on too. You've got Clods. They're kind of funky on how they work. You break something during a race, you got to take the whole gearbox apart, to get anything to where a shaft truck, you can have the whole transmission out in 4 screws pretty much and get something back together. It's just, they're a lot easier to work on as well, and hard to get aftermarket parts for Clods too. Not hard, but, like gearboxes and things like that. It's not like you can just buy a Vanquish one of those, and be set. And, so I like shaft. I do wish, with the retro trucks being really popular, I was just talking about this with a friend the other day. Tamiya really should release the Jug 2 or re-release that thing. I think that would just, it would do really, really well. Now, they got the parts in their inventory. They use it, with the TXTs, TXT2 Agrios truck, uses the same axles and everything. So I would love to see that come back. That would be, be fun to have a bunch of Leaf trucks, the retro style trucks that, and it's a shaft truck, retro. Most of the retro guys are Clods just because it's easier that way. But it'd be cool to see more of the shaft, the old school style shaft trucks. But yeah, I just like shaft. It's easier to work on, and it's more like the real thing. But I'm not hating on Clods. I love Clods too.
So we got, I don't know if Gotti could pull up the page for the Radio Impound page.
Okay. Gotti, are you looking at the YouTube video still? Sorry,
I am. I was watching.
And I chatting the whole time.
That's all right. I was watching the 2017 Fall Regionals RC Warship Combat from Hagerstown, Maryland.
Oh, nice. I wonder what classes they do. You could think of the money in that, Jason, the J Concept build pump.
Yeah, you just blow them up.
Yeah, I'm really liking this. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty.
What? It is
I'm
awesome.
sure it would be.
It looks fun.
I couldn't imagine
It's got to be a lot of money though.
Blowing people's stuff up.
Yeah, like BBs, like you said.
Probably like the plane guys.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of retired guys in here doing this with a lot of money, I'm sure.
Yeah, I could see that. With a lot of time probably to keep rebuilding over and over.
Yeah, that too. Man. Looks fun though.
Went to a competition. Yeah, went to a competition last weekend. Guy got me. Destroyed my whole fleet.
I mean, these guys are actually sinking. I mean, that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be so much fun to sink somebody's ship. Let me tell you.
I know, it'd be a blast.
Yeah. So what were you guys asking now?
I was just saying, if you pull up. If you want, I went through the questions that were on one of the pages, but if you wanted to do the ones on the podcast page.
And who's going to pick the favorite question? Because I hope you're keeping track there, Jason, because you're giving away a 2008 Ford F-150 autographed, custom painted and autographed body. Autographed by Jason Rona and Fred Reed.
So we'll get Doug to pick his favorite question.
Now, Jason, I sent you the questions in the chat here because there's a lot of abbreviations here, which I'm sure you would know more about than I would, and it'd probably be easier for you to read that.
Okay.
But
we got Pete Phillips. What he's asking is there a separate class for independent suspension trucks like the USA 1 or Concept Stampede conversion? So first, that's the first question. Then the other part is, do you think the growth of monster truck clubs like Trigger King and RCMT is causing people to abandon the NRC TPA monster truck?
I mean, I don't really know with I'll kind of go backwards here. With the NRC TPA thing, I'm not really sure on that. I've never ran with him before. I can't really answer that one. I don't know. But what was the other one on the independent trucks? There's normally not a class for that, actually. Like most of the clubs don't run a class for that, right? It's just a play around class, right? Sometimes at the big events they will run something like that, but it's not a real class. I know at most of the events it's just not something that the guys are interested in doing, I guess. We all play with the independent trucks, they're all cool, but most of them don't race them at those events.
Yeah. And so I mean, from my standpoint, his question about the NRC TPA and that, to me, the clubs like Trigger King and RCMT or these others, to me, it should help getting an event like NRC TPA. It should help their attendance, and because it's getting more and new people into that side of racing. And I think NRC TPA just not wanting to do it has more to do with the people running it than it does with the people wanting to attend, really.
I mean, that's a good segue, I guess, to the event that we're going to hold.
I was going
to.
I was going to, when we go through the questions, and then kind of let you go on that event itself.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
So
okay.
Do you see the question there, Gotti, from Javier?
If it wasn't for social media, I don't think I would have known that monster trucks have the following they do. What do you think the monster truck segment needs to bring the type of growth that the scaler/crawler market has seen?
I agree with him.
Kind of went over a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have to go much into that because we already talked about it at length. But yeah, it would take the SCX10. That's what the skill people had. It would take the SCX10, that version of it, be just world killer out of the box. And social media absolutely helped it. I mean, you could argue, though, I guess social media helps anything, right? With that kind of thing, kind of organizing everybody together. And, although it was message boards before social media, I mean, that's where I saw it. I remember as a kid or, in high school in the late 90s, I would look at, like, the NRCTPA website and see all the guys racing, and I thought, oh, man, I so wish I could ever do that. I'll never be able to do that, but at least it's fun to look at the pictures. And then, social media helps organize it all. Again, it's no different with monster trucks than I guess anything, but still, I mean, that absolutely helped with the growth of it.
All right, and Jeremy Mark asked, which of the three monster truck classes is your favorite to watch and compete in, and why?
I don't know. Probably sport mod. I don't know. The pro mod trucks are the most fun to drive with the big power, but the sport mod class is so tight with everybody running the brush motors. It's like an IROC class, sort of. And that's our most well-attended, class. And we also, that class, too, I didn't mention earlier, and when I was talking about the classes, we try and keep that in the spirit of the 90s. So most of the guys are running like 90s style, mid-90s, classic bodies when the trucks were really flying at that time when they started to really fly. And so, I mean, it's fun to shoot video of it. It's fun to shoot pictures of the trucks. It's fun to race in it. So even though the trucks aren't as fun to drive quite as much, I'd probably say sport mod.
Oh, here's another one from Aaron Klein. Is it hard to get the steering on a 4x4x4 all synced and comfortable?
It is, yes. Most of the guys aren't running 4x4x4 except for the retro class. It does take some time to sync that. I know that most of them turn it, you can turn it down quite a bit, only running like 10 or 20% in the rear because it's way too much. If you have a truck that just snakes all over the place. I know that some of the guys have used like toggle switches. I've tried to use that, but it's way too tough for me to use during a race to mentally toggle the rear steer on and off. So it is tricky to do that, I guess. It's been a while since I've ran a retro. I don't race the retro class anymore. Just because I've kind of put my money towards the other classes. But, it takes a little bit of programming to get the four-wheel steer synced up. Doing it on the faster trucks, though, is kind of crazy because most of them now, especially, they turn so well, you don't even need it. And you're going to roll, a lot of the guys. We do have one of the guys in our club that he runs, like, I forget how he's got it programmed, but like when the wheel is turned 90%, 10% rear steer kicks in, which is pretty cool. I don't know how to program my radio like that, but it's, gives them a good advantage on the turning courses. But most of the guys, though, it's just two-wheel steer.
Yeah, I mean, when I was messing with the steering, and like you said, if you have it just full steering front and back, it's a mess to drive it like that. And
oh yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, if you're gonna just try to do a track with maybe one, you're gonna go straight, but then you're gonna have one turn where you're just doing a 180 and coming back the same way. I could see maybe trying the full or near full four-wheel steering, but I mean, even my retro truck, I have the rear turned way down. But I did try it.
Somewhat.
Then the first time I ever drove the truck, I tried it doing it with the switch, where I would turn the front and then I would turn the rear steering with a switch, and holy cow, was that hard!
It's very tough mentally to do that. That's how I tried to do it, and it's like, I've been fortunate enough. I've driven a real truck with a four-wheel steer. I've driven Bigfoot 1 before, and that's four-wheel steering is screwy in general. It's and Bigfoot 1 doesn't even have self-center. The modern race trucks, you take your finger off the toggle, and the rear axle will center itself. Bigfoot 1, you got to stick your head out the door, out the window, and do it manually while you're driving, which is, of course, I got all fouled up trying to do that. But yeah, four-wheel steer is tricky. I mean, it's cool. I know a lot of guys, it's kind of one of the misconceptions, I think. Most people, I think, there's just no real monster trucks are four-wheel steer, so they assume all the skid trucks are like that, but it's not many. Especially outside of retro, it's very rare.
Yeah, because you can get, on the RC truck, you can get that front axle steer pretty far.
Yep.
You can run most of the courses with just front steering, and the truck actually is a lot funner to drive with just the front steering. It is cool. The thing that's cool about doing it on the toggle switch with the retro truck is you can play around and kind of do the crab walking, and you can kind of treat the truck like a retro. But when you're doing one of the racing trucks, it does seem like it's much easier to control with just the front steering.
Yeah, for sure. Especially the axial trucks, you have the knuckles on them that have the the high steering degree, and so they can turn just as tight as almost anything. So yeah.
Yep.
Here's a question from this is my last question here from Charlie Mack. Where can I find more build info for the retro style monster truck racers? And his second question is, are they crawlers with big shocks and tires? I've always wanted to build one.
No, I'll go backwards again here. Most of them are not just crawlers with big tires. I guess it depends what you want to call a retro truck. I mean, if it's really built like the old style truck, most of those are using, a lot of them are clodbusters, right? Clodbuster axles, but they use these aluminum, like box style chassis, which are sort of similar to the old style real, box frames that the big trucks would use, at least in idea. So guys are doing that. And then, you see, as far as some of the shaft driven retro stuff, Jamie Grun, the Grun chassis is what's known, and it's a similar style, like a style to a real truck frame, like an old military style truck frame with, it uses Tamiya, TXT axles and transmission and leaf springs. So it's, they're not really crawlers. I mean, you could put an old truck body on one, I guess, and put some, like the Midwest, the J Concepts, the 48s, like you guys have, or just some like stock clod style tires. You could do that. I mean, I've seen guys do it on like an SDX10 or something, but the truck like that really has a modern monster truck style suspension. So not really a retro truck. I mean, it's 4-link. You know, you've got plenty of suspension travel where most of the guys who set up the retro style trucks, you know, they have like no suspension or it's bouncy or it is on leaf springs and they react that way. So as far as like a resource, your best bet is the Facebook groups, seriously, because so many of those trucks are built so different than each other. I'm going to start writing about it on Big Squid just because the retros are like really underground. You know, those are really hard. That's why I'm saying that Tamiya would do very well to re-release the Juggernaut, because then it would be a box. You open the box, there's your retro truck right there. You swap the body, you know, for something you wanted. And it's nuts to me how, you know, like re-releasing is the thing, right? Some of these companies keep re-releasing things, and it's like, man, that would actually be, people would use that truck, you know, and of course people want parts for it too. And I don't know what the logistical reason is for not wanting to do it. Maybe, you know, I've in dealing with, you know, when I was working for Bigfoot at the time, you know, we dealt with Tamiya a little bit, and Tamiya is an interesting company, how they're run. So they kind of, you know, they're kind of at their own pace. So you never really know what's going on with them, I guess. But I would think that would do really well. But yeah, get on the, like, the Tamiya Clodbusters Owners Society Facebook group. I mean, that's like, you want to talk about a treasure trove of information there. A lot of the builders are on there. And yeah, again, my Monster Truck Madness column, I'm going to talk about retro trucks here pretty soon on there to do a nice write-up on them. But there's no real, you know, there's like no website you can really, you know, that I guess specializes in that, if that makes sense. It's still sort of a builder's class.
Last part of his question: Gravedigger, Max D, Monster Patrol, or Bigfoot? Which one?
I would think that'd be an easy question for me. It'd be Bigfoot. Although I was a huge Tom Mintz fan, and I still think he's one of the best of all time. I mean, I like the Digger guys too. I should say that. You know, Adam and Ryan are amazing drivers, and Dennis is. They're, you know, there's not a lot of, that's what's funny, a lot of the beef, you know, there used to be, I guess people would think, between the Bigfoot camp and the Digger camp, or the, you know, the Feld, Clear Channel at the time on Monster Jam. And, I don't know if you have any clue what we're talking about with this Gotti, but there's like a, you know, a separation of the companies. But anymore, there's really not. It's, you know, people are fans of everything. Yeah. I mean, I remember working for Bigfoot, the rare occasions we would race Gravedigger, you know, those weekends. I mean, it was go out and kick the truck's ass. Everyone wanted to win really, really bad. I mean, in the shop, everyone was fired up. And I'm sure it was like that with them too, you know, at the time. You know, from friends over there, I know they wanted to kill Bigfoot just as bad. That's the thing I really miss with monster truck racing nowadays, though, is it's great. They're phenomenal drivers, but man, the real rivalries like that I grew up on, and then even being part of it, like, you know, with Bigfoot, you know, like the Hall brothers and the Raminator trucks was a big rivalry too. It was go out, you know, and kill them. You know, it's just a lot of that. It feels like on the big stage, like with Monster Jam, I know there is that foil isn't really there, right? Like I grew up hating Gravedigger as a Bigfoot fan in St. Louis. I mean, I despised the truck. I actually hated USA 1 more though, because Gravedigger was never really a good competitor back then, at least not, you know, it was, you know, USA 1 and Bigfoot, that was like, you know, I remember going to those races, and it's just funny now you look back on them, and I guess kids would be bored now, you know, with some of them. But, you know, it just felt like it was a life and death battle. Wow. And yeah. I guess maybe kids now, maybe they probably think the same with Monster Jam. I'm sure there's a rivalry within there. I really shouldn't comment on some of that stuff. But, yeah, I'm definitely a Bigfoot guy, but I love all monster trucks. I really don't have a problem with anything. I do hate Blue Thunder, though. How about that? I remember when Blue Thunder came out whenever I was working for Bigfoot, and that was kind of the Bigfoot imposter. And, I mean, I say that, I'm going to, you know, not really the imposter, but, I mean, come on. It was like the Bigfoot fill-in truck. So I don't have any love for that truck. That being said, I know recently, Jason, you know, with the Dalton Milliken stuff, he was awesome. So I don't mean to act like I'm insulting that, but just when the Blue Thunder truck came out, I know I was not a fan of that. I harbor some old grudges with that. I don't really take it seriously, but I still like to hate on that truck.
Yeah. That's fine.
I love imposter.
Truck drivers, man. Yeah, that's how it was viewed. I mean, you know, it's really common knowledge. Maybe not a total imposter, but it's like, hey, that should be our Ford when Bigfoot, that's when we were sponsored by Ford, and that's when they were sponsored by Ford too. So it was, battle for manufacturing rights too on everything. So,
kind of talking about the real trucks a little bit. Do you think Ford would ever get back into it? Like they did in the old days? Do you think that you'll ever see that again?
I don't know, really. I mean, I would think there'd be some money in it. I don't know. You see some of the other forms of motorsports they are involved in, and I think, well, monster trucks are filling stadiums, so you would think there'd be maybe more of a market in it. But I guess with kids and everything, it's not. Monster trucks aren't necessarily the gearhead sport, right? It's more like the circus type atmosphere, the crazy show atmosphere. So maybe that's how it's viewed. It's not, they're not going to gain any real business from it. I don't know. I would think though there'd be money in it. I wouldn't be surprised if they ever did. I guess put it that way, especially their history.
Yeah.
With it, it was it sucked. I remember I was with Bigfoot when Ford left, and it sucked. And it's no one likes to see the manufacturers pull out of anything, right? For any kind of motorsport. So, yeah, even when, Ford left Monster Jam, I remember thinking, well, that, sucks. It's, and it's also cool when you have the big manufacturers. It gives more of an onus to run the real style bodies, which I'm still, I do like some of the 3D bodies that are wacky, but I'm still a purist. I love the truck bodies. So, yeah, it would be an onus. It would be onus for more, the truck bodies. I still think anymore when you see a really good truck body one, it almost sticks out more than the 3D trucks because the 3D circus style paint jobs or not paint jobs, but even, they're fiberglass. It's so prevalent nowadays that it just seems like a truck when you see a really good paint job on a truck like Jason, you guys wrapped, the Bad Company truck, right? For one of your promo bodies.
Yeah.
Like that truck in real life. I mean, holy cow, that thing looks killer. And to me, I see that and it's like, that looks mean. And again, though, maybe I'm full of it. Maybe I'm just an old codger, I guess, at this point with it. But I would love to see the companies come back. I don't know if Ford ever would, but it would sure be nice. They came back to drag racing. I know they came back to a funny car. They left John Force a few years ago, and they just came back, getting back at that. So maybe I would think there's more money in monster trucks than drag racing. Maybe I'm full of it, though, so I don't know. Love to see it.
Yeah. And that was that all the questions you had listed, Gotti?
Yeah. Doug.
Okay.
Doug, your blue bomber truck there with the Mega Man.
Yeah.
Big video game fan, huh?
I am actually. I'm a big gamer.
Awesome.
I always have been.
Yeah.
You know what? And I should have. I misspoke too earlier. That really is my favorite truck. My blue bomber truck, because that's a total custom truck.
Wow.
And I had a brain skip there on it. That's almost everything on that is custom. At least the whole chassis is custom. It's actually like a replica Bigfoot truck. And I love Mega Man. So the name for that blue bomber, it comes because I ripped parts out of an axial bomber, the RR-10 rock bomber, and I took the running gear and put it in that chassis. So
okay.
Mega Man's nickname was Blue Bomber. I figured it worked great for it. So, I wanted to do 8-bit graphics and everything for it. But I am a real big Mega Man fan, too.
Awesome. You still video gaming today?
Oh, yeah. Big time.
PS4, Xbox, both?
Everything. I'm actually a big Switch guy now, but I've got a full...
I don't...
right. I was at GameStop right before we got on. I was like, do I have 10 minutes? Because I was running in GameStop for something, so I had a minute to get away. Yeah, right. So, man, with 3 kids, I got to do something here at the house.
Yeah, I failed to include the Switch in there. I have that also, so it's a nice system. I really like that. So, and the Mega Man collection just came out. I don't know, is that on the Switch or is that? I saw it on the PS4 store. But
I haven't bought it yet, but yes, it is for Switch.
Okay.
I can't wait for Mega Man 11, the new one that's coming out. Which I can't wait to play that. But yeah, I own everything. I've always owned everything. I'm a big gamer and online gamer too. I mean, with kids, I don't do it as much anymore and trying to balance everything out. But that's why Switch is so great. I can pick it up and play wherever. I'm a huge Nintendo fan.
Yeah. I love it. It's a lot of fun.
Yep.
I just bought the new Donkey Kong for the Switch.
Tropical Freeze?
They just came out with Donkey Kong. The actual original arcade.
Oh yeah, the OG one.
Yeah.
Is it cool for that? I haven't
Yeah,
played
it's
it for
you
that.
know, it's just a flash. It's a lot of fun. Brings back a lot of memories. So a lot
Sure.
of memories there.
There's an arcade right around the corner from here, a barcade that has an OG machine. And it's great. They have a bunch of the classic stuff like that.
Wow, that'd be awesome. Damn.
It's fun. The joystick's a little loose, but it's fun.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Is Jason still with us, or did he fall asleep?
I'm here.
That's cool.
Super Mario Brothers. That's what I've played.
Yeah.
Some very discussion talk. I didn't expect to talk Mega Man or Battleships.
Yeah. I'm glad you introduced me to Battleships. I'm having fun. I'm going to be watching this tonight on YouTube.
All night long.
I'll have to do it actually myself. Again, I just brought it up. It's been years since I've looked at that stuff.
All this monster truck talk on this episode, and I come away with Battleships.
Yeah, yep. He's coming with a battleship. So, tell us about this event, the King of the Monster Trucks. You kind of alluded to earlier. Got a opening in the schedule.
A good ender, I guess, here. So, Trigger King is putting on a big event called King of the Monster Trucks, which is a play on, the old Bigfoot tape, King of the Monsters, right? And that was the nickname for Bigfoot back then. It still kind of sticks, King of the Monster Trucks. So we're tying it in there, and we are actually going to be doing it at Vinyl Images, which is a big graphic shop, and they're tied in with Monster Trucks. They do a lot of the wraps for the full-size trucks and a bunch of other stuff, too. The owner, Joe, loves RC Monster Trucks as well. And we're going to be doing it at their facility. It's October, I believe, 6th and 7th, Saturday and Sunday. Multi-day race. We're going to race on Saturday, and then we are going to do freestyle, judge freestyle on the Sunday. And you can actually go to TriggerKingRC.com, and on the nav bar, I made sure I set it up today, King of the Monsters page. You can see the rules that we're doing. We're adding more as we keep adding stuff to the event here because we threw it together here as quick as we can because you kind of mentioned with the NRCTPA thing, they weren't going to do monster trucks. So there were guys that wanted to race monster trucks that weekend. So we figured we would try and, if guys wanted to race monster trucks, you'd be in a different spot, but you could do it here in St. Louis. So we're trying to work on getting one of the Bigfoot trucks there and a few other things, some other cool details that, we'd like to share if we can make it happen. But at the very least, it'll be a fun event that weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we're really looking forward to it. I mean, Fred, the last couple of years, Fred's been on a tour trying to hit most of the different events, and the NRC TPA was a good one he liked to go to. They were concentrating on more going back and doing their pulling, concentrating on more of pulling this year, and so yeah, I mean, this event kind of popping in there is going to be really, really convenient.
Yeah, I know we're far west for a lot of folks, but again, I think we'll have a fun event. We're going to film the whole thing, put it up on YouTube, so drivers racing in it are going to you get to see yourself on YouTube and everything. That's one thing. It is pretty funny in talking with other clubs. Bust our balls or something about, I can't believe you raced this bad and something. It's like, hey man, you can watch every single race that we've ever done that one of our guys in competition has done. I'd like to see every one of your races, buddy. I would love to tear into you for your bad race. It just happens that, all of ours get put online, so we get to look stupid in front of everybody.
That's true.
Yeah, and that's part of it. I mean, if you want to talk, about your racing, you got to be prepared to. There could be some good and bad about that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun though. It's all in good fun. It's just I always laugh at that whenever it's like, hey buddy, you try it. I'll critique you. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, so the whole event will be filmed, for YouTube and everything. And it should be a lot of fun. It'll be the biggest event we've ever put on. I know, so it'll I know all the guys at the club are looking forward to that, and I already know we've got commitments from guys in a bunch of different states and everything coming in, and some of the Western, the Western clubs, that aren't normally on kind of the national scene, like even the Busted Axle group out of Kansas City. Those guys are a newer club, and they were at open house. A lot of those guys came down to the Bigfoot open house, and it's awesome to see that going on. Kansas City was a great monster truck town back in the day. I know St. Louis in the Midwest gets a lot of the rap for it, but Kansas City was, a great spot too. All the Midwest cities were. So I know there's some guys down in Memphis that are doing monster truck racing. Hopefully they're going to come up, the Memphis club. So yeah, it'll be a lot of the Western guys. I guess a little bit different for the national scene, but we'd love to have whoever come out. Do the best we can. We're going to try and do some cool stuff with the courses, and hopefully have some cool guests even lined up if we can get it all, to make it all happen. So regardless, it'll be a good time. And yeah, J Concepts, you guys are sponsoring it. Final Images, RH Designs, he has a bunch of the cool 3D printing stuff. JB Scale Graphics. We're still putting all this together, so we got a lot of guys that are going to help out with it.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to look forward to that and getting out there, and I think we're going to get some good East Coast guys too. Those clubs, and we'll get that Sons of Anarchy thing going.
It'd be great. I know Bari Masawer normally does the 4-link nationals, and he couldn't do it this year, and so it's kind of that. I know that was previously like the big get together. Although I know during the winter the fall, there are a couple other big events. I know the guys up in New York, the Trigger King guys would love to come up and race the guys in New York sometime. The Monster Truck Challenge guys, I believe that's the club name. They do awesome stuff up there. I know that, their stuff's really cool. We'd love to do that. Sucks that geography is so far away, But, anybody, we would happily welcome any other clubs, any guys that want to come in and race. I know we'll have some newbies there that never really do it, and I know I've talked to some other guys who are planning to race. They're more of a traditional RC racer, but they want to try the monster truck thing out. So, it should be a lot of fun. We'll have all the details soon, but I do have a preliminary stuff, detail page up on TriggerKingRC.com on our website.
All right. Well, do you want to give a shout out to all the people that help you and the people you represent there?
Trigger King is, sure. Trigger King is like, I know you're talking to me, but Trigger King is everybody that does it. The only reason it's successful, seriously, is like, Bob Chandler Jr., he helps out with, basically co-owns everything, or kind of co-owns the club. He's awesome. He does most of the video work, actually, and he does a fantastic job, spends a ton of time doing all that. Josh Rhodes, we laugh that he's got all these fans online. That's what all the kids they want to see Josh Rhodes in his Gravedigger truck, which he just shreds every time. It's insane what that truck can do. But Josh Rhodes is big on it. Danny Mass, Chris Blank, Ross Henshaw at RH Designs does so many parts for us. Travis Sutton, he does a lot of the paint jobs, the cool old school paint jobs. We got a bunch of guys. I feel bad, forgetting some of the guys. Of course, the Childress brothers, Lonnie and Jason help out. Jeremy Mark, who's I think was in the chat room you were saying tonight, he drives down from Wisconsin to race with us. Like a 6-hour drive each way. To club race.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's we have a lot of guys that come in, and it's thankful they do. Of course, I got to give a shout out to Michael Arndt. He'd be angry if I didn't say anything. Michael Arndt, who's a J Concepts driver, he did the art for King of the Monsters. I posted it on the page. I don't think we posted it anywhere else. It looks awesome. And Michael Arndt races with us. He's a killer, monster truck driver, but he also is the graphics guy for many of the full-size trucks. He designs the graphics and T-shirts and a lot of stuff for him. He did the logo for this, and I know we're hoping to work on a decal sheet, hoping to get him involved with that. So big thanks to Michael. Again, if you're out there, if you're listening, I'm really sorry if you put the club and I forgot. I know on the spot, but I think that's everybody. I think I mentioned Chris Blank, who also is, driver of the orange trucks. He helps with everything too. We're just a big team effort to try and put the promotion on. That's how we view it, as a fun promotion, and everybody kind of has their own jobs with everything, and there's just no way the Trigger King would exist without everybody doing everything, really. It's great to have everybody that that helps out like that.
Yeah, so
there you have it.
Big thanks to everybody that you're involved with.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you for humoring the monster truck guys, Gotti, for letting us talk for I guess 2 hours on this or whatever it's been. I haven't
Yeah,
even
no,
looked at
it's
the time.
good stuff, man. And I would love to get involved in it. I just, I'll have to. I just don't know how to get into it and what to buy. But Jason will help me out
Sure.
with all that.
Just come
Sure.
to St.
I gotta
Louis
say-
in October. Come to St. Louis in October, and we'll get you a truck, Gotti, and you can race.
I would love to go to St. Louis in October. Jason,
There you go.
Gotta hook me up, bro.
Great weather. It's like one of the 2 months that we have great weather here in St. Louis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's fun then. But yeah, well, thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for listeners for the questions, everything. That's awesome. And yeah, I guess that's it then.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Welcome
All right.
back anytime, bro.
Thanks.
All right.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
See ya. Doug Welker. A lot of good info there, Jason. A lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, there really is.
I enjoy watching that stuff on Trigger King. I was checking it out before the show. I like the Xbox.
Yeah,
There's an Xbox truck there.
I know you always find the video game related
Yeah, I was like, whoa, look at this Xbox truck.
promos and
You were saying that Xbox sponsored or Microsoft sponsored a truck at one time.
yeah, they
Full
actually
size.
sponsored the Bigfoot truck. That's where that Xbox truck I think came from. And,
Oh.
I don't know how long it was, if it was a year or 2 years or whatever, but they actually had a video game. I think that's where the whole thing came
okay.
from. Is yeah, they had a video game, and I think there actually still is a game. I don't remember.
Well, they have like
It's
the
called
Monster Jam games and stuff. I don't know what else they have out there, but I do know the Monster Jam games do exist to this day.
There's one called Monster Truck Destruction, I think,
Oh, okay.
but I can't remember the one that Bigfoot was a part of.
Yeah.
'Cause, but anyway.
Hey,
there's-
you guys forgot to pick the favorite question. Do you have one, Jason? Since you're giving away the body here. Out of all those questions that you asked there, which one do you... Well, you'll have to
Yeah,
go
let
back
me-
and look at them.
I just got to cruise over it.
Okay.
I'll come up with something.
We'll make an
here.
announcement on the
While
Facebook
you're
page.
while you're talking, I can look at it.
While I'm talking?
Yeah, you're talking.
I am? Okay.
Yeah, you have a lot to talk about.
I do?
Mm-hmm.
Visit our Facebook page. We'll make a post there about who wins. Facebook.com/Radio Impound. Find our decals at StickIt1Racing.com. And Jason, do you know if Stick It One still makes the hats? Because I can't seem to find it on their website. I would like to order another RIP JC hat.
I think they do.
Can't seem to find it on the site, but I'll look. I'll look again. But you can get a cool hat like mine with the RIP logo on it. I got the J Concepts logo on it. Made by Stick It One Flex Fit hat. I love it. It's an awesome hat. A listener bought that for me and sent it to me as a gift one time. So
I remember that.
yeah. So you can get our decals there, the logos there, our logos on their site in the drop-down menu. I have people ask me about that, where they can get the decals. Carpies.com, you can get t-shirts made up there also. Visit them. Visit our good friend Paul Lemieux at GravityRC.com. We have to get Paulie back on the show, but Paulie shows us a lot of love by running the logo and so forth. Good friend of mine back in the day, Chicago show, we used to party. It was a lot of fun. Paul Lemieux.
You partied?
Yeah. Good times. Love Chicago. 4th of July is coming up. I don't know if we'll have another episode that drops before then. If not, be safe out there. Make sure you, to light the fuse, you just want to hold it close to your face so you can see that you're lighting it, and hold it in your hand as long as possible, because then when you throw the firecracker, it'll explode in the air. It's a lot of fun.
What?
So make sure you guys do that. 4th of July coming up on Wednesday.
That's next Wednesday.
I'm sure you'll be celebrating, right, Jason?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's next Wednesday. And I'm sure J Concepts will be running some kind of 4th of July sale, so keep a lookout for that on jconcepts.net.
You know what? Actually, I think the question here. Let me just confirm here.
There was a lot of good questions, so it's going to be hard to pick.
Yeah, I think I got it narrowed down. Let me just check one more thing here.
Okay. Jason's checking to make sure they're not overseas.
Actually, that's a good point. let me look for that.
Yeah. Head on over to patreon.com/radioimpound if you'd like to win some prizes. Jason always sends us some cool stuff that we give away. And I got some photos up on Jake Ingstrom recently posted a photo of the Mayfield body that he won.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Good stuff. I like when the guys send photos. Send photos with you in it. It really helps out. Shows everybody I'm giving away these prizes. All right, Jason's found a winner for the 2008.
I like.
Go ahead.
I actually like.
Jason likes his
I
question.
like Charlie. Yeah. I like Charlie Mack's questions here. We actually didn't cover. There was two parts of it that we didn't cover.
Oh,
but
yeah,
he actually has.
Yeah.
He actually has I'd say, he's probably got 4 or 5 questions in this thing. So I think Charlie Mack is getting the win on this.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he has the most amount of questions. He's got some about monster trucks. He's got real trucks in here. He's got talking about truggies.
Mm-hmm.
And the next IFMAR class. And he's got 2 questions here that are actually.
Yeah, I meant to touch on those for you. Those are really good for you there.
Yeah. In fact, he's basically saying that there was a live RC poll asking if there should be another IFMAR Worlds class, and he said, "Will Nitro Truggy ever reach that stage?" And well, this is kind of a sore subject with me.
Oh.
In a way, because I think if you added together all the trucks that have sold in RC versus all the buggies, I think trucks would actually be the number 1 selling RC vehicle in RC. Like there's more trucks probably ever sold than there has been buggies, and then we don't have a Worlds for it. So to me, it's kind of a crime that there's never been a truck world champion.
No. And I never understood that back then. When I was a kid, I was like, why isn't there a world championship for trucks?
Well, it's mostly because the truck classes aren't very popular in other countries. That's the real reason.
Okay.
But if you put all the sales together, I think trucks are the number 1 selling RC vehicle. So I think it's when short course was hot, I think a short course world champion would have been really cool. Would have been maybe one of the funnest events we could have put on in that 2011 to 12, 13 range. If we would have had a short course world during that time range, it would have been really cool. At this point, I don't think it would be that fun anymore. Truggy, I think, is probably one of the funnest classes to watch on Live RC or watching it live. Truggies are awesome.
Yep, I agree.
I think a Worlds for that would look really cool. It probably wouldn't carry a lot of weight out there, but I think if you were to say you were going to have a Truggy World Champion championship race, I think it would be big. I think people would really like to watch it. Because you could make a really cool track for it, something you haven't made before. There's just a lot you could do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would probably be the coolest looking one. I think if you would have ran the short course one in the proper range of years, it would have been really big for the industry. I think the industry would have really enjoyed that one. But the Truggy, from a spectator standpoint, would be amazing. Stadium truck. I think we should have had stadium truck in the 90s. Around 94, 95, 96 probably would have been the best time to have a stadium truck world champion. That would have been the time period, I think, for that stadium truck. I think now people would pay attention, but I don't think it would probably be that interesting, really. And what's the other thing I was thinking about for a world championship? I think those were the three. I think, so that's the three breakdown. Will we see one of those? I don't think we will ever see it. I wish they would, but the one I think it has, one of the classes that would be a cool worlds to run would be e-buggy. We already have plenty buggy worlds, but e-buggy would actually be a really cool world championships because you could run it the format just like you run the electric, 5 or 6 rounds of qualifying, triple. But in this situation, you'd run triple 10-minute mains, which I think would be really cool.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'd be hard to run a e-buggy world championship, and I think that has some worldwide competition that would probably get involved. And so his other question here was the history of monster trucks going from bashing to truggy racing. And this is actually a whole nother, we'd have to cover this on a whole nother show because it's a huge topic. But a lot of RC racing has its roots in monster trucks. Stadium trucks started as monster truck. Truggies started as monster trucks. A lot of RC racing classes started as calling them monster trucks. And you look around, they always talk about the RC10 coming out in 84 or whatever it was, 84, 85. Well, the Quadbuster came out in 85, and it's still around today. They're still selling the Quadbuster. So that was the first RC monster truck sort, with that big size. And there's something to be said for the staying power of the big trucks. And I think the reason is because they make perfect RC cars. You can drive them anywhere. Drive them in the grass, the gravel, the dirt. You can jump curbs. You can drive over plants, and you can do all kinds of stuff with an RC monster truck that you can't do. On-road car, you can only do certain things with it. You're super limited. And, you take in the grass, gets stuck. The dirt, it's destroyed. Gravel, it's destroyed. You can only do certain things with it. And the monster truck's the most versatile RC car. So I think that's why it's always going to be around in RC, because it might actually make it a better RC car than it makes a real vehicle. Because it's a perfect play vehicle. So anyway, I mean, we can go into that later about
we'll hit
all
it on
the
next
classes. But there you have it.
Charlie Mack, congratulations. You win the 2008 Ford F-150 custom painted and autographed by Jason and Fred.
That's
Doesn't
right.
get any better than that.
Not at all.
All right. Have a great weekend. Good luck to the team at AMS and all
Yep.
the RIP fans that are there racing. Best of luck. Attack.
Yeah, it's already doing well.
Yeah, attack.
Yeah. What is I order you to?
I order you to attack, soldiers.
That's right. There you go.
J.R. Mitch, lead the way. Mayfield, lead the way.
Get busy.
Yeah. All right. Big thanks again to Doug Welker. Awesome show. Episode 178 in the books.
Later.